The cafeteria was buzzing with noise, laughter, chatter, and the clatter of trays. Among the crowd sat Valentina Shevchenko, her posture calm, her expression unreadable. She had always been quiet, never the type to stir drama or seek attention. To most, she seemed like just another girl keeping to herself, but what they didn't know was that beneath her calm eyes burned the spirit of a fighter, a spirit that life had forged through endless trials. At another table, a group of notorious bullies spotted her. They were always looking for someone to mock, someone to belittle in order to boost their fragile sense of power. Valentina's quiet demeanor and composed silence made her an easy target, or so they thought. With smirks plastered on their faces, they stood up and approached her. "Hey, Shevchenko," one of them sneered, yanking her chair back slightly. "Why are you always so quiet? Cat got your tongue? Or are you just too scared to speak?" The others laughed cruelly, tapping on her shoulders, trying to provoke her. Valentina looked at them without flinching. She had been bullied before, long before this day. She had faced rejection, insults, and isolation as a child when she first pursued martial arts in a world where many thought girls didn't belong in the fighting arena. She remembered the days of bruised knuckles, aching muscles, and people telling her she would never make it. But she also remembered the strength she built from it. The bullies' words didn't sting her the way they might sting someone else. They only reminded her of how far she had come. Still, she chose silence. But silence was not enough for the bullies. One of them leaned in closer, poking her tray of food and spilling it across the table. "Oops. Look what I did. What are you gonna do about it?" The cafeteria roared with laughter. Valentina calmly stood up, her steady eyes fixed on them. At that moment, something shifted. The room fell silent. Not because of her words, but because of her energy. There was no anger, no panic. Just a quiet strength radiating from her every movement. The bullies chuckled nervously. "What, you gonna cry now?" one of them taunted. But their smirks faltered when Valentina finally spoke. "You should be careful what you ask for," she said, her voice soft but commanding. In a flash, the lead bully reached out to grab her arm, perhaps thinking he could push her around some more. That was his mistake. With flawless precision, Valentina used his own momentum against him. In seconds, he was on the floor, gasping for breath as she released him unharmed but shaken. His friends froze, stunned at what they had just witnessed. Another bully tried to charge at her, his pride too bruised to back down. Valentina sidestepped effortlessly, pivoting with the grace of a dancer and the skill of a warrior. Before he even realized what happened, he found himself pinned against the table, unable to move, his face pale with shock. "Please, please, let me go," he begged. The cafeteria was crowded that afternoon, the kind of noisy chaos that always seemed to echo in the halls. Students laughed, swapped gossip, and tossed food wrappers carelessly on tables. But in the middle of it all, Valentina Shevchenko sat quietly, eating her lunch in silence. She had always been this way, calm, composed, never the one to seek out attention. To some, her quietness made her invisible. To others, it made her an easy target. The bullies spotted her before she even noticed them coming. They were the type everyone feared, loud, arrogant, and cruel. They thrived on humiliating others, especially those who wouldn't fight back. That day, Valentina became their focus. "Look at her," one sneered loudly enough for half the cafeteria to hear. "Sitting there like she owns the place. Why don't you talk, Shevchenko? Oh wait, you think you're too good for us, don't you?" Laughter followed. Another bully pulled her tray, spilling her drink onto the table. The students around them laughed nervously, some shaking their heads but too afraid to intervene. For a moment, Valentina said nothing. Her silence wasn't out of fear, it was out of control. Because if there was one thing she had learned in life, it was that strength doesn't always need to be loud. But inside, her mind drifted back. She remembered being a young girl training in martial arts while others told her to quit. She remembered being bruised and exhausted, mocked for chasing a dream that seemed impossible. She remembered her mother telling her one night, "You don't have to be louder than them. Just be stronger, Valentina. Quiet strength lasts longer than noise." Those words echoed in her mind now. The bullies weren't satisfied with her silence. They circled around her like predators, waiting for a reaction. One of them smirked and shoved her shoulder. Come on, say something. Or are you too scared? Finally, Valentina stood up. She didn't raise her voice, didn't flinch, didn't even look angry. She just looked at them with calm, unshaken eyes. The cafeteria fell strangely quiet. There was something in her presence, a quiet fire, that silenced even the laughter. You should be careful what you ask for, she said softly. The lead bully scoffed. Oh yeah. What are you gonna do, huh? Cry. He reached out to grab her arm, but that was his mistake. In a single, fluid motion, Valentina twisted her wrist free, shifted her weight, and in seconds, he was on the floor, breathless and stunned. She hadn't hurt him, just used his own strength against him. But the impact was enough to rattle not just him, but everyone watching. The second bully, embarrassed and angry, charged at her. Valentina moved like water, swift, graceful, unstoppable. She stepped aside, pivoted, and within moments, had him pinned against the table. His face turned red as he struggled, but she didn't even break a sweat. The rest of the bullies froze, their laughter gone, their confidence crumbling. Please, please, let me go.